get started, or maybe you will have some ideas, or I don't know. But
yeah, great.
It's well, it's in fact it's a huge topic. I mean, all of it is. So we can talk about the ingestion. In fact, for a week at least. So it's like with everything, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. 2 minutes, then we can start. Right, I'll start with a small intro and then give you the torch. Okay. Jæja, þannig að allir velkomin á þennan föstudags fyrirlestur með hann Saša Kranjac. Hann ætlar að fara yfir data ingestion and logging in Microsoft Sentinel. And Saša is Microsoft MVP. He's also been the regional director for Microsoft, and he knows a lot about Sentinel. So don't hesitate to ask him if there's something. So welcome, Saša, again, our Icelandic friend.
Hi,
and
thanks for having me.
And yeah, so I'll just give you the torch and you can start.
Okay, so let me share the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, you should be able to see it. Is it okay? I mean, can you see the screen, right? Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
you can see it.
Thanks a lot for having me again. So this time is a Sentinel again, but just a small part of the Sentinel. It is the we'll say a few words around data ingestion and logging in Microsoft Sentinel. So what about that? Actually, what a little bit about me. It's my name is Saša, and I've been an Azure MVP before since the beginning. Then I was Azure MVP and Security MVP, and now I'm only Security MVP. Switched categories, but anyway, also regional director and beside architecture and projects, I do also some training as well, custom training and vendor training, not just Microsoft, but also CompTIA and others too. So anyway, also been book author of a couple of books about security and Windows servers and so on. Anyway. Let's say a few things around the topics about the analytics workspace. Then we have a little bit about connectors ingestion and then data retention and archiving, restoration, and so on. So a little bit about the ingestion. So about the data, so it's an hour, fairly not enough to cover everything, but I'll try to just give you a few clues around that and maybe raise some questions. So anyway, it is the first thing. So let's say that we start working with Sentinel, that we decided to onboard or actually use it anyway. There are a couple of settings in Microsoft Sentinel that we need to take care of, and that is the first. Working with log analytics workspaces, because that's where our data is. So if we take a look at the log analytics workspace, so we have two places, in fact, which actually point to one place. It's always about the log analytics workspace, right? So Microsoft Sentinel environment settings are managed in two areas, so you can manage them in two. So Sentinel and log analytics workspace. So the first thing to work is setting up the log analytics workspace, and first of all, you need to create one either here on the log analytics workspace or at a Sentinel. So creating, someone will say create a Sentinel, actually add the Microsoft Sentinel to our workspace. I don't know. I disagree a little bit to that statement. I feel like it is, in fact, we are enabling Sentinel to analyze your logs in log analytics workspace. So we are actually not adding it to a workspace, but we, in fact, you are consenting that the Sentinel will have access to the workspace. So you can create a new one, of course, but that's only that. So you will see the list of the workspaces that are not added yet, or actually that you are not have enabled Sentinel to access these workspaces with. And that's it. Once you've done it, then you see the list of workspaces that have changed their icon, and then you can manage them. So let's pick one. I'll probably have to switch between these two, and there you have a couple of options here. So first of all, you will have to go to settings, of course, and then these couple of things have changed here a little bit, and the graphical user interface also changes. So the only constant thing here you already know in Azure is change, of course. So don't be surprised if these things here around that looks a little bit different here and there. So anyway, we have two prices. Actually, pricing is done on two ways. So the Sentinel pricing, which is the price of the data that has been ingested, and actually of the volume that is analyzed in Sentinel. And the other one is the workspace settings, actually the price that the Sentinel, that the log analytics workspace have to storing the data. So and then there you have the tiers of different levels of ingestion, for example. And as every good marketer would say, the more you spend, the more you save, right? So it's about so as you have more ingestion, daily ingestion, then you also have some substantial discounts, of course, but also you have to pay the hefty price. Actually, what my dad would say to me, it's not that it's expensive, it's you who are poor and you can't afford that. So it's not about being expensive or not, it's about having the money. So anyway, certainly the companies that have a lot of resources that generate a lot of data, well, can afford that. But that doesn't mean that we are doing good if we just streaming everything, or that we are doing good if we just accepted the defaults. And there are some spaces, and there is room for improvement. So for fine-tuning the ingestion, so we can save both time and money and price. I mean the money in storage, in searches, in Sentinel and analytics, and so on. So a little bit fine tune is always welcome. So in order to get any of these graphs, you would have to get the ingestion going in for some time, of course. But this will help you figure out what the ingestion is in the last 31 days, in the last month. Why? Because when you set up the workspace, the log analytics workspace, when you add it to a Sentinel, or when you enable Sentinel to look at it, to have access to it, to analyze the data, you have 30 days of, well, I would say grace period, or actually you have 10 gigs of ingestion per day. So this is the time where you will have to fine tune your ingestion and figure it out. In fact, if nothing else, at least I would say 75% of you have to figure out around the data ingestion, what you want, how you should continue after that month, and what should you stream or what shouldn't you stream in there. So 10 gigs looks like a lot, but it's not. So this can get quite you can fill in that quota very quickly. So depending on what resources you have. So some resources are not very chatty and do not generate a lot of data, but some of them are. So the difference can be also up to 100 times difference. But also it means you are the admin, the one who actually is setting up the ingestion, is the one who also who will have the strong influence on what is being ingested, actually the data that is being ingested. So this is here to help us with figuring out the categories of what is going in. Let me quickly take a look at the, I forgot to load in a Zoom it because I will need it. It's a very nice tool for zooming in things. And it helps to do that. So data ingestion last 31 days, you will see you will see the graph. This is a small environment, so not a big deal. So it's and also I've deleted some resources just to save some money because it's a demo environment. But the point is, what you will see here, you will see the categories of data, solution of data solutions of data that you ingest, and then you can figure out what is the data that is ingested more, and the levels of ingestion. Then you can start figuring out and planning also how will you set up your workspace. Of course, every company, every workspace is different, every environment is different, so you cannot figure out. There's no prediction on exact prediction on how much you're going to ingest. You can eventually browse or Google or Bing to Google or Google to Bing for some levels of ingestion of a comparable environments. But even then, this can vary or differ a lot. So that's why we have this period of learning, for example. Anyway, the first thing you should do is also set up the workspace settings. So that workspace settings means that we'll see the usage and estimated cost, for example. These are exactly the level of the things that you've ingested, that you've streamed into, for example. You can also see the billable data ingestion by the table in the last 31 years. But two things you should think of. So data, well, no, this is going to be after that. Daily cap is something that you should also think first. Why? Because you control, while you cannot predict the ingestion rate, you can certainly cap it. So and this should be done at first. Just make sure that you cap it so that it covers your desired, or actually the ingestion that you agreed to pay. So for example, if you have 10 gigs of free data ingestion per day, then you can, for example, afford to stream in 50, and then you are able to or willing to pay 40 gigs per day of ingestion and saving 10. So you will set up the 50 gigs per day of cap. So this is the daily limit that will be set at 12 o'clock UTC. Anyway, keep in mind that this should be revisited daily. Visit daily or eventually in hourly, for example, the metrics, and follow closely the ingestion rate at the beginning. So keep in mind that everything beyond the cap is not going to be logged, so the data will be lost. So just keep in mind this is only for trimming the first in the first days or weeks in the first month of your data ingestion policy, or actually ways of or methods of ingesting the data, just to save you from unnecessary or unwanted costs, for example. So it is for you to fine-tune your ingestion. So that's the first thing, and you should revisit this on a daily basis. The second is that should be revisited and revisited after not just after the first week and month, but also I would say weekly or monthly, depending on how heavy your data ingestion is. This should be revisited weekly or monthly as well. So the data retention, so 31 days is included, and then there you have the option to extend this to 2 years, so to 730 days. So the retention of application data, application insights actually defaults to 90, and also you will get and we'll get the workspace retention if it's over 90 days. So anyway, just keep in mind that data retention also is something that is incurring costs as well. So this is the global setting which you can fine tune afterwards. So that's the first thing. The second thing. This is the second thing. And then we have other things as well. So the data retention, which can be changed, in fact. So these are the initial steps. Then you can, in fact, visit afterwards these settings after you've after couple of days and weeks, in fact. So what about next? This is the workspace manager architecture, or actually this is the workspace manager, which is still in preview, and it's about managing workspaces together. So it's still in preview. Just one caveat, not just this, but anything that is in preview, then keep in mind that the functionalities and things can change. The Azure Lighthouse works here as well, so you can also bring some workspaces from different tenants as well. For example, like this one is from a different tenant, and so on. So, but I won't talk much about these. But instead about the architecture of the workspaces. So just keep in mind that you can manage multiple of them, and this is down within the log space as well. So anyway, just make sure that you choose the correct design strategy for multiple workspaces. So what do you need to think of? So you need to follow some criteria around the design of the workspaces. For example, like the operational and security data. So combining operational data from Azure Monitoring in the same workspace as security data from Sentinel, or separate them, for example. There we can have dedicated workspaces, for example, or combined workspaces, and this is something also you should think of. So Azure tenants, you can have one tenant or multiple tenants. You can create a single workspace for one tenant. You can create a workspace for each tenant. So if you have if you're MSP or you've managed multiple tenants, this is also one strategy as well. So one one tenant, one workspace for Sentinel and Defender for Cloud to keep this same workspace for both solutions to keep security in place, and separating Azure Monitor and Sentinel, for example, for dedicated workspace if it's also required by security. Also the regions. So if you have multiple workspaces in different regions, that means that also the geography will be the different, creating separate workspaces for each region for compliance for legal requirements, for example. If you don't have to keep all the data in one workspace, just create workspace in one region. That will keep costs also a little bit down. It will be you'll be able to manage the workspace efficiently because you only have one. But if you ingest the data from other regions, this will incur additional cost because of intra because of the egress traffic that you will generate. One workspace will solve the legal or compliance requirements or practical administrative compliance because you are one RB controls, one rules and, for example, queries. But then if you have multiple ones, then you will have to maintain multiple workspaces. You will have to maintain maybe multiple RB controls, multiple administrative work around these workspaces. But then you will solve the legal requirements, compliance requirements, and data ingestion requirements, for example, as well. And maybe it's also if you have multiple clients, then it's a no-brainer as well. Then the data ownership as well. It's something that is done if you have separate workspaces for each owner. It's a no-brainer, of course. And then what else is important? Because if you have one workspace, then is one data retention. If you have two or multiple workspaces, then you fine-tune data retention different for different workspaces and different tables in these workspaces. So it's also a trade-off between some of the things. And then you also have commitment tiers. Though maybe you will have a little bit less of data ingestion in one, but you have less discount in these two. So it's also about that. So less than 100 gigabytes per day or multiple gigabytes per day, and so on. Then you have also limitations per agent and also the security of the data, for example, and multiple tenant strategies also. Here we'll need maybe multiple administrative privileges. So anyway, what about data connectors? In order to string the data in, we need data connectors, and we have multiple data connectors available. And we have the codeless connector platform capabilities. Of course, we have Azure Monitoring Agent, we have Logstash Logic Apps, and so on and so forth. So what about these things? Codeless connector platform actually also supports all the capabilities, for example, that is available in the code. It's a low complexity, for example, but it's best for less technical audience, while you have the Azure Monitoring Agent, which is also good, best for collecting files also from on-premises and IaaS sources, but also from the cloud one. Logstash, for example, supports all the capabilities of Azure Monitoring Agent. It's not serverless. It requires a VM, for example, or cluster to run. But then it's a low complexity. It's the best solution, for example, for on-premises and IaaS solutions, but also for the solutions that have a lot of requirements, for example, for data change and for data transformation. And then we have logic apps that if you need to collect from multiple spaces, for example, if you need codeless programming, if you need connectors to different platforms, then you will use these. And for example, for high volume cloud sources, the Azure Functions will be the ones that will be the best ones. So what about the different types? So We do also have now, we know that a Log Analytics workspace connector is obsolete, is not longer maintained from the 1st of September this year. You will exclusively have to use the Azure Monitoring Agent, and also there are a couple of ingestion methods. So we do have Log Analytics workspace, which actually also connects to a specific and the tool, but that's who's obsolete, and we need to also another one, for example. So the Log Analytics workspace is pretty much inconvenient because we need to install it on different virtual machines on different points, and then it's hard to maintain, for example, and so on. But we do have our Azure Monitoring Agent now. Our Azure Agent is the versatile pulls data collection rules, and that rules are able to collect from various sources. And also you see here it's to be replaced with a Log Analytics agent, or actually the Azure Monitoring Agent, in fact, which is in fact the agent of choice today. So because we can have multiple collection rules, we can have multiple streams, multiple destinations, and multiple wired, and then we don't have to deal with just simple one self-monitoring agent for each and every workload. So what supports also a lot of IaaS and on-premises, and the DCR rules are the ones who, in fact, where we need to figure and set up this very detail. Data collection rules are, in fact, the rules that bind the data that is going to be collected, how to own the data, where the data should be sent, of course, and we can different data collection rules to send the different types of the different workspaces, for example. So this is there's one collection rules. So let's say that we create a data collection. Why the Log Analytics workspace is not a good choice, because if we take a look at let's take a look at one just. Then we have agents. We still have here the Azure Monitoring Agent for the servers, for Linux servers, but then we have the older one, Log Analytics Agent, that is 3264-bit, that the workspace ID, and then there we have keys to connect this. So what do we have to do? Load all of these, install on different endpoints, and collect. It's cumbersome. It's non-convenient. Is also slower than the newer data collection rule. So either we type in the DCR and create a data collection rule, or we can in fact go from here. It's exactly the same. So what these rules do. So as we here, let's take a look at one. So creating a DCR is a very straightforward. Edit these collection rule afterwards as well. Just we can name it. Let's say test whatever it is. Choose the platform time, Windows, Linux, all. Then we have, you can see that we have ready here the granularity here. Then we choose the resources, for example, what kind of resources. All of the resources in all subscriptions, so we can choose from, not just from one tenant, and then we can choose also from other tenants as well. If we added a tenant using Azure Lighthouse, then these tenants will be visible here, and then we can also choose the choose the ingestion option, or actually data collection rules from other tenants as well. So very versatile. So we are seeing here everything that is inside the subscription or inside these. So these are Linux machine, Windows machine, the machines from other tenants as well. So let's say that we click on apply here. We have a mix of these. Collecting what? So adding a data source, depending on what we connected, we can see the firewall logs, custom JSON logs, for example. We need to, of course, select the data collection endpoint, for example, Prometheus, ISIS metrics so we can ingest in, or IS. But here we have performance counters, Windows logs, whatever. Let's take a look at Linux, for example, and Windows, and then go back to the other one. So here is what we need to really carefully think of. So none doesn't make sense, of course. 8 mil, I mean, it makes sense because we can change that later. But anyway, so what will influence greatly in what you collect, and actually the size of the data, the amount of the data. What metrics do you collect? And also sample rate in seconds, of course. So you might want choose a little bit different than the seconds than the 60 default ones. So I can't tell you what it is, what is good for you, because you will know what is good for you. So typically, if it's important, then you will select a little bit smaller amount, or if it's not so important, you will probe and select the sample, collect these sample rates a little bit less frequently or more frequently, but it totally depends on you what to do, what to collect. But just be aware that whatever you choose, it will greatly influence on what you are collecting, especially if you have a lot of machines, a lot of endpoints, and if you collect a lot, this can quickly go exponentially up. So just make sure. That's why we need to revisit our graphs, our workbooks. So actually, check what are the tables, what is the data that generates the most of the traffic. That's the first thing. And especially if you do custom, then you have a pages and pages of the performance counters, for example, to collect, and so on. So this is where you can get stuck as well. But just choose what's important for you first, and then if something is not important, just if you would like still to collect it, and if it's not so important, just increase the sample rate. But you have to have a trade-off between what you collect, and with event logs as well. So do you really need verbose information? Do you really need information verbose and audit success or fail? Probably you will be more picky about this if you're around security like me, but or depending on a project. But do you really need in at first during the first 3 days or even later verbose information along with all of these? Probably not. Why? Because this will generate a lot of information first, and then the second probably is not so important in the first phase. So maybe you would like to choose critical and error, and eventually audit failure, for example, for the first thing. So then you can go return to the data collection rule tomorrow and revisit this information that you've chosen, so you can fine tune what you actually wanted to collect. So maybe not tomorrow, it's figuratively, but in a week or in 2 weeks, you will see the amount of the information that is being collected. First of all, it's about also the amount of it's about the cost, of course. It's about the amount that you collect, and then it's also about it influences, of course, the retention cost, the Sentinel cost, but also the cost of searching, because you will have a lot of information that is potentially not useful. So you will have to think about what do you want to do with that data. So what do you want to figure out? What is it that you want really? So if you're going to create the KQL statement tomorrow, or script, what this statements will give you. So if you use KQL to create workbooks, do workbooks will take advantage of information and verbose logs? Probably not. Maybe they will take advantage of something else, like some other things. But if you want to figure out what is the I don't know, audit failure, then you will just choose the audit failure and not the audit success and not something else. So if these things are not going to be used anywhere in your SQL, in the KQL statements, or if you were just streaming them in, probably there's no reason to do so. Or we will say this a little bit afterwards as well. If you really do like to have them, then you can set up the active retention for these things much shorter than you would need them. So than the others, and especially when we talk about a custom. So just make sure that you are collecting exactly what you need here, and not what you don't need. So just the things that will really make sense to you, that you will use actually afterwards. Otherwise, it will exponentially increase the logs. And as well, the minimum here as well, the minimum log level for selected facilities, or if you do the facilities on the granularly, then do you really need the debug information, info, or notice? Maybe you just need the criticality or error or some alerts or whatever. So just minimum, exactly the valuable information what you want to collect, and that will be visible in the that the KQL statements will use. And if you say, okay, but if I don't collect them now, and if I have need for them tomorrow, I will lose that information. Yes, exactly. That's similar as a packet capture. So, but if you really want to collect them, then collect them, but don't set the active retention for 6 months or a year. Set active retention for 30 days or 15 days, because this is something, this is where you will need the info or the bug information, but you can actually store it somewhere else, or you can eventually stream this to diagnostic logs actually, or to the storage somewhere, or eventually set up these retention periods um, really low. So destination, of course, we can add multiple destinations, of course, depending on what we've chosen, different subscriptions, tenants, and actually as well. Just make sure that you are streaming to the workspace. So your choice of a workspace also will influence the cost, of course. Is the workspace in this region or the other regions where you're streaming this from, and so on. So just make sure that you do the right thing. Once you've done it, then what you can do, you've collected everything, you collect the data. Then you set up the rules. So you've set up the data retention. This is the general data retention in days, and of course you can set up the data retention individually for all the tables. So keep in mind, what will you get from the KQL statements? What will you ask for? So if your KQL statements just take advantage of 20 tables or 50 columns, just use these, and others just set retention different. I would just, let's say, I don't know, AKS, Kubernetes containers, and these things can generate a lot of traffic. So these can generate gigs and gigs of traffic, a lot of informational and so on stuff. Keep in mind that you probably don't need that. I mean, I will just pick one table. You can then, of course, manage the table and set the interactive retention, for example, to leave it at the same as the workspace 1 year, or actually put it in 30 days. So why choose a year or so? Just say, okay, I will need this for 30 days, then I'm good. And then choose the retention period. Maybe you will need this for 180 days, or maybe, I don't know, for the legal requirements, 12 years. You can do that. But just keep in mind that it will also incur cost. While the interactive retention is a little bit more costly, the archive retention is a little bit less costly. So, but then you also have to take into account that if you take this data out, then this will cost you as well. So rehydrating the data, or actually getting the data from the archive tier into the active tier, will cost you some money. So if you're collecting, yes, okay, collect if you want to take a look at these data from here and there. But then you can always set up the interactive retention, which is the queryable retention, the one that you can query with a KQL, to a lot less than the general workspace retention period. And then click on save, then this will be saved. So all of this here is 1 year. So do you really need these 187 tables with the retention of 1 year? Actually, the active retention of 1 year. Probably you're not querying the container image inventory or whatever app console logs all the time. So if you do, then good, you can set it even for 2 years. But if not, it doesn't make sense. So you can there's a lot potential to save the money here. So, and then maintain the data, of course. So well, you can also export the data somewhere if you don't need it, for example. What else? So configure the data rules. We've seen, and then we have also a couple of storage options. Then we have analytics, basic, archive tiers as well. And then there we have also different performance tiers for all of these data retention, or actually storage options. We have SaaS and PaaS cloud models, maximum retention of 2 year. So this maximum retention means maximum active retention. You can have retain for 12 years in total, but then 10 of these will be in the archive. So what it means, it's not queryable. It is there. You pay less, peanuts in compared to the active retention, but then you cannot query it. You can bring it back for a price, of course. The estimated cost is high. Well, we have also the basic logs. Think about whether you is there something that could be put in basic logs and not in the analytics logs to save a little bit more money. So maximum retention is 8 days. Keep in mind that, but the cost is really on the lower side rather than higher side on the analytics. And there is a specific purpose for debugging verbose. This is where you have to keep these, for example, this is where you choose, okay, I will collect the debugging verbose and these things. But if I need to have it, okay, I will have them. But then just for 8 days, this is where you need this information anyway. So probably you will need it in 2 months. No one will ask you what was this debugging information for the thing AKS in the last 6 months. So whatever has been done already. So no need to generate a additional cost. And then we have this archive tier as well, which is, well, the performance, it's medium. It means that it's inactive, so you have to bring it back. Maximum is not 7, it's actually 12, actually 10 plus 2. And then estimated cost is very low because this is for archiving, for compliance, and so on. So if you are required to have these this data, you will have it, but the cost is low. And then we have blob storage, of course, which is also very configurable and has a potential to have a really low cost as well. So these are the analytic logs and basic logs. So this is the full KQL capabilities and a little bit costly ingestion charge and so on. There's no query charge, of course, but there's a time that we need to spend there to find something. There's a time that our queries are executing, and they will execute. They will take more to execute if we have a lot of data. So if we have less, then the performance will be better, of course. This is milliseconds when we look at for example, some small amounts of data, but we have a lot of data, and if we have non-optimized queries, then this will result in very slow queries and will be very unsatisfied, and the cost will be high, for example. Then after the active days have passed, then there it goes to the data archive, not 7 years, but actually 2 plus 10 year max archive. The prices are, I haven't checked them lately. I don't know about the price, but if the price changed, there are similar prices. So probably the difference between the data archive and analytics and basics has been the same. So just double check if you want to. Don't hang on these prices. But it's just for comparing the prices here. So if you take a look at the log analytics and Sentinel price for 1.6 or 2.3 per gig, then here we have 0.02 per gig per month. So it's 10 times less, for example, or even more times less. So the basic logs versus analytic logs, we've just seen it before, but just to reiterate. So 30 days. These are available for, let's say, 8 days, and basic query capabilities per use, no extra cost there. But the data archive here, you will pay for, just make sure that you know that, search job charge, restore charge as well. And this will stay there. So there also limit to what you can get back in the analytics there. So you can't go and put half of the data archive in the analytic logs immediately, but just a couple of tables at the same time. So what about basic logs? If you don't require more than 8 days, so this is the where you can save a lot of money as well. So everything that we've mentioned here, like basic logs and granularity into the what you stream into, what you ingest, the retention. So at the end of the month or at the end of the year, this will produce great savings and also great performance impacts. So you only require, if you require just 8 days of data retention for the table, then this is it. So basic queries, limited version of the query language, then the basic logs are here. And just a couple of things about reducing data ingestion costs. So like I mentioned, data source optimization, evaluating data sources, only essential data. So what do you need? If you are not sure that you will need it, ingest it for 30 days, then put it in an archive tier, and then revisit the strategy in a month or two, and then track what you have been using. So just revisit the queries, revisit the policy. So, and ask yourself, have I ever touched this data in 2 months? If not, it's non-essential data. You don't need it probably, and you will need it. If it's legislation, then you can't do anything here. It's the law. You have to oblige the law. But if it's just because you want to have all the data, or you think it might be useful somewhere, something that you think it might be useful actually will cost in 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 months or a year or two. So just revisit here and there what kind of data you've actually used in the past. So really, and then this is going to be essential data. Why? Because the queries will be more optimized, and the scripts will be more optimized and faster and so on. So not all data are equally critical for security analysis. High value sources, actionable insights. That's what I said previously. So do you really need it? Will the queries use it? And what what do you expect out of the data? Do you want to see the efficiency, the catch the perpetrators, the bad people getting in, or what do you want to do with that data? So then there's data filtering and parsing techniques also to reduce unnecessary data ingestion. There are SNX logs, common event format logs that you can filter out and parse them. So just use whatever it is useful, because there are, let's say, hundreds and thousands of attributes or columns, types of data that you potentially can ingest. Use filters or use parsers to just collect what you need. Normalize the data. Normalizing means reducing data redundancy. You have functions to normalize that. And also change the data sampling. Do you really need that every 5 seconds to be sampled, or is it good for every 2 minutes? Just look at the example from 30 years ago when you sampled, for example, CPU usage on Windows servers. So if we are monitoring the short in time intervals, like an hour or two or day or two, then we will sample every couple of seconds, 5 or 10. But if you monitoring and collecting samples over a year or two, then samples are going to be there. For example, you're going to collect the samples for every hour once, or every couple of hours during the peak times. So that's one way to think about that. And then also choose retention periods. So not all data has to be retained for all periods, and so on. Also different profiles and also advanced analytics in machine learning actually can identify the patterns, for example. But this is something that not everyone is familiar with. But focusing on high priority stuff, things actually makes you reduce that data. Probably you don't need that IIS data or some file server data, because you can everything get from the past data. So offer different data. Oh yes, I see the hand up.
Hey, yeah. I was just wondering if you're familiar at all with like external solutions to condense logs. For example, like ingesting network logs where there might be a lot of noise in them, and a lot of they might be way bigger than they need to be. Do you have any experience with these type of solutions to reduce cost?
I mean, yeah, but that's exactly the, yeah, for example, a lot of companies are using Logstash, and then you have you have to have the VM, for example, somewhere and so on, or you can download the code and install it for yourself. But still, data, you can do data normalization directly and parsing directly on the in Azure or in Logstash, for example, and that's something that you can use, for example, as well. And it is capable to down process a lot of data. It's free, of course. You can download it, for example, and then use it on your own. So different platforms are available, and so on. So the configure it afterwards, and just it with it. It's a freely available. It's a nice tool. It works well. A lot of connectors. Very nice performance. Very nice way to normalize, parse the data, and then stream it to Sentinel. And so I don't know. My first choice would be, and what I think of. So it's a normalization in Sentinel and parsing, but also Logstash is also one, I would say, type of the data collection types that supports many other types that Sentinel doesn't support. And then you can normalize that there and then stream it in Sentinel. So that's one. I don't know if you have been using this one, or maybe you've heard about Logstash before, right? What's your I don't know, if you have looked at it before. I'm just curious if you had, but you decided not to use it. Why? Is it something here that you don't like, or?
Yeah, I'm not the subject matter expert on this in our team. We had been looking at the Cripple, CRIPL, and we're still in the phase that we're comparing different solutions and choosing something to integrate in our stack. So we don't have any particular product up and running right now.
Well, okay, thanks. So you can use it from Elastic, or you can download and use it yourself. So it's free to download, but you have to install it somewhere. But it's I have only positive experience with that. So I suggest that you give it a try and look how it works for you. So you can eventually pump up the VM, for example, and create it a little bit bigger if you need a little bit more processing power, for example, a little bit of planning, or put it somewhere, for example, on a scale set. So for that, actually not the scale set. Probably it's also more much better to use it in a dedicated VM, for example, where you can scale it manually. But this is something also that I suggest that you take a look at. It's a good one. And we're already done. The time flies. I already mentioned something about retention archiving. So you have analytics based and archive logs, for example. And then there's the total retention period as well, where you can in fact set the retention and archive policy by table. So all of these can be used differently. Exception is the legacy free trial pricing tier, 12 years and more. Restoring logs can also be done, for example, in Azure Monitor. But actually, Restore makes a specific time range of data available for high performance queries. So otherwise, use that, and that's the Restore. Keep in mind that this will incur some costs. For example, limitation of log restore. So restore data of minimum 2 days, for example. It's a minimum, but restore more than data 14 days old, up to 60 terabyte. Not all of them. 60 terabyte means seems a lot, but there are companies that ingest 60 terabytes daily and even more. Restoring is limited to 1 archive restore per table, and also 4 archive table per workspace per week. I think this is also, I don't think it's been changed. Yes, 2 concurrent restore jobs per workspace. So very not much, but if nothing else, I think that this limitations here maybe also out. How should I say it? So these limitations are also not so bad if you think about all the costs that the archive tier will save you, for example. But again, if you cannot set as you wish, that's also some downtime as well. So you can also think about putting the data elsewhere as well. So on the Azure storage, for example, and somewhere else, that will make you that will give you the possibility to also store the data for more than 12 years, or even save a little bit more. So instead of that, you would, for example, set the archive tier for a lot less, like 2 years instead of 12. In the interactive period, retention will be a year or even less, and then the other data that you will have stored elsewhere, not in the archive tier of the log analytics workspace, will be set up for bigger retention on a much cheaper workspace, for example, in a blob storage or somewhere else. And there are also a couple of workbooks and that can help you figuring out what is any ingestion delays. So it's also very important to have that. So end-to-end latency report by table, for example. This can be looked at the cyber info of the workspace usage report, for example. And one of these is also the latency table, cost analysis, and so on. So this is also a very important one. So delay and rules per table, you can see that here. So workspace usage report, end-to-end latency report by table. Just keep in mind that this one is here. So we just scratched the surface. And just to reiterate and to thank you, a couple of things. Choose what to. I would just mention these couple of things. Source optimization, filtering, parsing, data sampling, normalization, don't collect everything, retention policy, and so on. So these, in a nutshell, these two things are not just for reducing data ingestion costs, but also for performance increases as well. So yes, that's just a 1 hour of something that we just scratch the surface about the logs. There's of course a lot more with practical examples and everything else, but it requires a little bit more than 1 hour. But if nothing else, it's just to talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Lot to ingest now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with everything else. So it's just to keep you busy, or actually to plant a seed of thought in the head and actually point you to a different direction. But I can also share the presentation if you just took the screenshots, it's also okay. But I can also share that as well. So not a problem at all. These two screens about performance is also practically that is what in real world what we do to reduce the cost and also increase the performance of the data ingestion and tables, and reduce cost, because the cost can go like exponentially, especially with the Kubernetes and containers, and these are really chatty, so this can get out of the hand very quickly. So
yeah. So are there any questions? Maybe one or two.
I think I already asked everything I was thinking about. So I am not really familiar with Elasticsearch, but I know Greylog. But are you familiar with Greylog? Do you know if Greylog is using Elasticsearch under the hood to store the logs?
Not sure. No, I don't know. No.
Right. So that concludes the session. It was fantastic. It's had a lot to think about and ingest now. So yeah, I think it was great. Thank you, Saša, for this session.
Thanks a lot for having me again.
Yeah, and thanks for coming and doing this for us. It's greatly appreciated. So yeah, I'll say have
Thanks
a nice
a lot
weekend.
for organizing it.
Yeah, have a nice weekend, and yeah, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.
Yes, and happy holidays as well. Have a great day and weekend as well, and hope to see you in person in Reykjavik or somewhere when I visit up there. So yeah, planning to go there so soon.
Yeah.
So
all right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.